Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Ryan Votzek with Lion Bold, and I have here today Steve Leslie, who is a Grammy Award-Winning Songwriter from Nashville, Tennessee, and multiple BMI Award-Winning Songwriter. We're going to do this more in real time with new songs so that you can see just Steve's mind in action, just critiquing these songs that I've written, and hopefully you can learn something along the way. Yeah.
That's a lot already. Bridge, I don't know. Yeah, I think we'd be strong and still getting along instead of burning up the past. Again, if you're going to write this bridge, if you're going to have a bridge, where's it going to go? Well, it could go to an instrumental.
Yeah, I tried to lead up like the last line and all this pain, going back into the chorus. When I'm with you, it's hard to breathe. I mean, that's kind of painful. So kind of like thematic overlap there.
I like that. And you're thinking something that I would have done and not done the pre-chorus, maybe.
Yeah, just kind of get right into it and
keep. Although there's an argument to be made that the pre-chorus or the chorus with the post-chorus is really an important part of this song, and I'd have to live with that a little while. But another decision might be to write a short bridge that takes you back to the pre-chorus. In other words, write that bridge, a short bridge with an eye on the pre-chorus.
Yeah, just basically make room for that pre-chorus to come back.
Yeah, and it's such a good pre-chorus. Yeah, and it would be like this. Yes, I think we'd be going strong and still getting along instead of burning up the past. We were stupid and young, but we were stupid and young.
Yeah, those buts and ands. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned so much about putting. There's but and just and those things are so important. They can modify the meaning. They can change the meaning so incredibly. Instead of burning up our past, and we were stupid and young, but we were stupid and young because we were stupid and young.
Right.
Those things are huge. And I always run my beginnings of usually the beginnings of lines with cuz and girl, we were stupid. Something that you can change it pretty fantastically, actually, if in using those different words. What are those called? Exclamation, and, but, for.
Is it conjunction? I don't even know. It's been a long time since school.
Yeah, I haven't. My wife's an English teacher. She'd kill me for not knowing that right now. But anyway, so I would look at the bridge and decide how long it should be and where it was going, and then make those decisions based on a line or two of the section it's going to. Either in this case, what you're calling the pre-chorus or a true chorus, taking over me. That's awesome. Yeah, there's some production things too. That. I was hearing as far as holding out notes and then dropping the chorus in a big way. There's things there that, like my buddy Richard Lee, who's in the Hall of Fame up here, songwriter. He when we used to write early on, he would always write in the margin. Of course, we all wrote on legal pads then, and he's writing in the margin of his legal pad these notes and these little musical notes with maybe la ti do or something, or just 1-3-7 or something like that to remind him. I go, what are you doing? He said, this is the intro, the string line.
Yeah. Sorry, thinking that far ahead.
Well, he said, man, you write the record. You don't write the song, you write the record. So if you're hearing like an important line, musical line, there's ways to remember that. So when you get into play it, you'll have it. And boy, there's gold in those moments of inspiration that just happen at the beginning. You don't to go back and recreate that or try to remember that is almost impossible. And of course, you can always record it now, and that's what I do. String line, and then when I'm recording it or telling the musicians, then you can say, hey, the intro is and they're like, okay, cool. But you don't have to write it on manuscript paper. I'm not a great note writer or reader anymore, honestly, because I haven't really used it much. But I can write rhythms, ta da ta ti ta 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 ta. Okay, I can write those eighth notes out and then place underneath it 1-7, whatever it is. The scale tones or do re mi or E, G sharp, whatever that. But something, or the recorder is probably the best way to do it. Just sing into it. Write the record. That's another big lesson that probably you do anyway. I would think probably in a lot of cases you probably do anyway.
Just with the way I play it, like kind of the groove, the beat, like slapping the guitar to get that bass drum out of there.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. How did you start with this? Did you start with the title?
No, so this one was weird because I started with the first verse because I had that rhythm and I wanted to create something just like really fun. And I actually had a completely different chorus at first. But then I talked to my buddy Justin, who you know.
Yeah. Justin. Oh, he's wonderful. Justin Knock. Yeah. Hey, Justin.
And he heard that chorus and he was like, dude, this chorus is not the right chorus for this song. And he was right because it was like, it was fun in the verses and then it kind of just took this dive into like melancholy, like bittersweet, which is like kind of what my default is, like listening to all these like breakup songs and stuff. So, and so like that was
you're a melancholic.
Yeah, exactly. I am.
It's my favorite emotion.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, bittersweet, melancholy. It's like it's neither gray or it's gray. It's not black. It's not white. It's gray. It's just kind of. You know, I think that's where life lives. I think it's life. Life is melancholy. It's kind of bittersweet. You know, it's not. Yeah, it's really good. Really good.
But I mean, for a fun pop song, with all this imagery of like, the summer and dancing and all that stuff, the ocean, the chorus definitely had to be more fun, and so that's when that came.
Yeah, you did a good job. Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, I can make some comments about melodies, not in this case necessarily, but I mean the melody obviously gets altered when you take away words that maybe don't need to be there. You have to do something with the melody, either eliminate that part of the melody that the words were on, or just do something else. But I've been doing this a long time, and I'm pretty convinced you can't really teach melody writing. There, I said it.
It just has to come from above or from wherever.
Honestly, everybody from Stravinsky to Bernstein to Sondheim to Jimmy Webb to I've read it all, and not one of them really that they pretty much say the same things, that melody writing is just a gift. I mean, you can certainly write a melody and then go back and tweak it and say, hey, let me not do this, or hey, let me alter, especially at the ends of phrases, at cadential places. The ends of phrases is the place to look at melodies, because that's where you can get very cliche. And it's stay by the ocean. I'm not saying you did, but for instance, stay by the ocean, stay by the ocean, stay by the ocean, stay by the ocean, ocean. See, I might have chosen that, by the ocean, just because it's not ocean. That's been done a million times. But if it's, if it doesn't, the secret is it has to sound inevitable. It can't sound like, the writer went, I got to do something different here.
Yeah.
It's got to sound very inevitable. The ocean. On the ninth. Interesting. I always question the ends of phrases rather than as much going on, in the middle of the line. But, I went through music school, and you learn how to write fugues, and you learn that, the antecedent consequent effect, the question and answer phrases of melody lines, and an upper neighbor and a lower neighboring tone, and all these things, and your basic pitches and all these things. And you can write a melody that sounds like you wrote a melody. But boy, I think, at least for me, and not everybody I know or have read about, that it's pretty much either you got that or you don't. A gift for, maybe everybody has a bit of a gift for melody, but I think a genius for melody is certainly something that is just a wonderful gift. And, I mean, my son has that. I mean, ever since he was 4 and 5 years old, we'd be walking in the grocery store or something, or in a department store elevator or something, and you'd hear the muzak would be playing above. And first of all, just to even notice the muzak is a whole nother thing, whole nother obsession. that might mean you're a songwriter or certainly a musician, is to even remember what was playing along, let alone singing along with it. But my son, when we left, I would recall that many times he would be whistling the last thing that we heard coming out of the grocery store, and he would actually be improvising on it. You know what I mean? Like if it was by the ocean, he'd go. He's making his brain somehow has to make sense of question and answer phrases and, upper neighbors and all that stuff. And, I think it's an obsession and a gift.
All before like any formal musical training.
Yeah, exactly. It's just something about your brain. It's an obsession. Your brain is obsessing about whatever the architecture of those of a given melody or a melody is. It wants to make sense of some kind of architecture, question and answer, some kind of unity needs to be happening, and until it happens, you're kind of obsessing about it, and either I think you either have that or you don't. Either it's either a gift or a nightmare. I'm not sure, but sometimes it's both. But I like the melody a lot on this. I like the way you play it. Of course, the musicianship's a whole other thing, but lyric is an important thing. It always has been for me, and it's one thing that you can really kind of, I think, improve upon. A lyric is something that you can always, musically, production, a lot of subjectivity there, a lot of different opinions. But a lyric, man, it's such a craft for me, and something. It's the hard part. It's the really. And people move to Nashville, and they're like, oh my God, or they come here so they can really, once you get bit by the craft, like maybe you have now, like, oh my God, now lyric writing becomes harder.
Yeah.
Becomes harder because now you're kind of pointing your shots. You're kind of pointing your shots when before you were just shooting, because you had natural ability. And you're hitting about 75% of your free throws. Now I'm telling you, okay, here's how I want you to do it. I want you to point your elbow toward the rim, put 60% on your weight on your back leg, and do this, and you'll hit 95% of your free throws in time. But I want to go back to this. Okay, we'll go back to that. But as far as being a pro and being a master at free throws, then learning the best way to do it with the craft and the technique involved, based on best practices and advice.
Yeah, I think I told you, like, right after I finished your course that songwriting became really hard.
That's a great sign.
But arguably, I truly believe this, that I'm writing the best songs I've ever written now, because first of all, they make a lot more sense. They're leading to the next sections like they're supposed to, with proper lead up and not making all those jumps and assumptions that, I understand what's happening, but will the listener understand? Who knows? And so.
Yes, the difference between, I've always, I've taught many students and very, very talented students, and they're, they fall into the category of, man, she's great, but, she's great. She's a great singer, great player. I don't really know what she's talking about, but man, what a great presentation. What a great player. And there's some that are, I don't really know what they're I know what they're talking about, but that they're not a great performer. The singing is, it's not right there, the stuff. And I'd rather have the second choice, honestly. But obviously the goal is, man, that's a great presentation, a great performance, great singer, great guitar player, and I know what he's talking about. I'm thinking about my uncle for the first time in 30 years. How did that happen? Because the goal is to write a song that's not yours anymore.
That's the listeners, and they adopt it, and there's exactly.
So, and that's what you want. That crosses that universal divide there, and it's not so artist centric and personal as it is. Universal sense. That's what I want to tap into. Mm-hmm. That's what I've always wanted to tap into. But again, that's my method. Someone will have just as strong an opinion on that it doesn't matter, and abstract lyrics are better, and ambiguity is cooler, because the age-old thing about you can interpret it the way you want to, and I can interpret it the way I want to. Vagueness is cool. I don't know. For me, I'd rather, it not be vague but not be too factual. It doesn't have to be just a list of facts. there's a lot of poetry in a great lyric.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and but there's obviously some really practical things that, you know, I would put it on an index card and set it on my writing desk. Things like can you introduce a time or a place in the first line?
Yeah.
Or in the first verse, in the first couple lines? Can you? If not, that's okay. Okay, can you? Have you emphasized every word in your title? Because you might come up with something completely different, because how we say something changes the meaning. Okay, I would do that. I would, as far as the craft goes, I would say, don't start with the first verse. Maybe can it start somewhere else, into the chorus? You know, do you have an idea that can start at the end of the chorus and then write backwards? And then the biggest thing, probably the biggest thing, is don't worry about editing as you're musing, as it's coming out, as you're flowing. Don't edit after that experience, maybe the next day or whatever, and get rid of words that don't belong. And the, for, those, our, when you just said you and I.
Yeah. Basically write with that rewrite in mind. So like have the raw, inspiration flow, but know that you're going to rewrite and refine later.
Yeah, absolutely. Vision, revision. Mm-hmm. That's what Emerson said. Vision, revision.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great? Vision is just, and then revision. Look at it again, but without the moment of, that inspiration, that thing that happens, that we're getting it down.
Yeah.
Vision, revision, and then also too, probably the biggest thing is, once you're into the song, is to look at each section with an eye on the section it's going to. Mm-hmm. And then what does that mean? All those, if you're doing that, all those arrows are pointing to the title. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All those things are pointing to one seminal fact, and this is, you're taking over me.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That's enough to expect in 3.5 minutes, for heaven's sakes, right?
Yeah.
And second verse, half as long. Don't assume that, well, the first verse was this many syllables and this many words and these many sentences, so the second verse has to be, because that's convention. Well, that is convention, but it's the point is to learn everything about convention so that you can be unconventional. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And nobody notice. That's the key.
Awesome.
There's other things we could say about it, but I think for this go around, I think as far as a first look, and looking forward to the rewrite, then we may find, a couple little things in the second rewrite. I mean, my process is to get it out, vision, mm-hmm. and then revision it, revision it, and do stuff like we talked about. Hey, the second verse need to be as long, just like we did on here. This would have been a first rewrite. And mm-hmm. then, if I have the time to do it, man, and I love the song enough, I would, and especially if I was going to record it, I would play it out for 3 months. Because, I mean, if you have that kind of time, play it out for 3 months, because there are going to be words that show up that you didn't even know, you didn't even write, that are going to make it better. Yeah. And maybe a chord appears or disappears, mm-hmm. because it felt in the process of doing it that maybe was a better choice. And by the end of a month, or if you're playing it enough, that song that'll be the best it can be. And then for me, the final rewrite lyrically is when I'm typing it in. When I got because I write it out by hand. So I'm looking at it, and then I'm actually typing out the lyric while I'm looking at the handwritten page. And that's when I find stuff like, oh, and the, for. I don't need that. Again, that third little swipe is, I don't type it in initially. I don't type it in when it's first going down, because it looks done. Mm. It looks beautifully done. Look at that. Ooh, let's change the font. Ooh, Helvetica. Awesome. Ooh, Veranda. Looks like a hit now in Veranda. It just looks done. It looks beautiful. It looks like something in a book. It looks done on the page. That's why I like to write it out. I got arrows and asterisks and, crossing out and stuff. And then finally, when I sit down to actually type out the lyric to put it in the publishing company, or to just save it in a folder so I can actually read it instead of this terrible writing that's got all these asterisks and lines and funny, sad faces, and then that's where I can find a number of things that are better, that need to usually come out, and if I have the liberty to play it out before actually committing it to recording, that's always great, because man, you'll find melody choices. It's just, and the performance ends up being a whole lot better. And in the past, and still some, I think bands used to play those songs out on the road for a year, before 9 months before they went to the studio.
Yeah. Now
it's like, get your single out and then go tour or something. Maybe, I don't know, but again, it's all in service to the song for me. This is number one. It's not the performance. It's not the shit blowing up. It's how to communicate the best way we can.
Awesome. Well, hey, I think that was amazing. Like so much gold in there. So many like tactical tips that people can bring into their own songwriting. So I think we could wrap it up. And so if you guys are still watching, Steve Leslie, Grammy Award-Winning Songwriter, multiple BMI Award Winner for songwriting over in Nashville, Tennessee, and also the creator of Song Assembly, which is a songwriting course in 3 parts. So definitely check out his website, songassembly.com. Is that right?
I think, no, it's songassembly.co.
CO, okay, yeah. So I'm so glad that we made a huge point about that, though. So songassembly.co, and you can get the entire course there and even more. So thanks so much for coming on and just going through this song and just unloading all of your great knowledge about songwriting. So with that, I think we can say goodbye, and we'll see you guys on the next Songwriting Critique when we do this again.